the room.
Okay, great.
All right, we have a couple people joining us, so thanks to those that are already ready. We'll get started right at 7:30. So welcome to the TCU session, and we will get started right at 7:30. Feel like you need some good like hold music right now.
Should I wait to put my stuff up on the screen?
I think you're good. You can go for it.
Okay.
You go ahead and feel prepared.
I appreciate it. I need all the help I can get. All right, and you see everything?
We're perfect on our end.
Yay.
All right, guys, the time is 7:30. So in order to get everyone the most information that we can in this 45-minute time span, we are gonna get started. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. We have Jill Countryman from TCU, who is going to tell you all the great things you need to know about her campus. Just a couple things from my end as a facilitator. Know that at the bottom of your screen, there is a Q&A button. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to type those in the chat, and I will make sure that Jill gets those questions at the end of the session. As an FYI, your camera and microphone are automatically turned off. So again, the best way to ask those questions or let us know that you would like some future clarification is to enter things into that chat. This session is also being recorded, so if at any time you want to refer back to all the wonderful information that Jill's going to share with you this evening, know that you can go back and watch the recording as well. So again, welcome to the TCU presentation, and Jill, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Hey guys, my name is Jill Countryman, and I, of course, am an admission counselor for TCU. I've worked at TCU for over 15 years, and something kind of unique about me is that I actually live in Illinois. I live in Illinois because we have so many students from Illinois applying to TCU. Although I do live in Illinois and work full-time for TCU, I'm also the admission counselor for 6 other states, which you see up on your screen. As our facilitator has said, if you have any questions tonight, feel free to type them into the Q&A and I'll answer them at the end of the presentation. Otherwise, my email address is up on the slide, and feel free to email me after this presentation or anytime when you have questions about your application or just TCU in general. So I like to always start my presentations with a reminder of what TCU's mission statement is. I know a lot of colleges will maybe publish or print their mission statement up on the screen, but at TCU, we really try to live our mission statement. And among all the other things and all the other reasons that students come to TCU, really our goal is to make sure that those students are educated to think and act, you know, as leaders, as ethical leaders, and to do good things in their community, you know, in their workplace and across the globe. So we think we do a pretty good job of that at TCU, and I'm happy to show you guys a little glimpse about TCU tonight. All right, Texas Christian University. Obviously, you know we're located in Texas, but I want to talk about our middle name for just a little bit. Texas Christian University. We're affiliated with the Disciples of Christ denomination. There are 18 colleges and universities within the United States that have an affiliation with the Disciples of Christ. The nickname for the DOC, or the initials are DOC, but the nickname is the Christian Church. So that's where our title comes from, purely a denominational reference. We have over 60 different faith backgrounds represented on our campus. You will find students who are Jewish, you'll find students who are Buddhist, you'll find students who are Lutheran and Roman Catholic and Disciples of Christ or Christian church denomination. We have over 25 different student religious clubs and organizations on our campus. We've got a gospel choir, we've got Young Life, and many, many others, including a Christian sorority and a Christian fraternity. We do not require chapel at TCU, although we do have chapel and students can certainly engage in that. We do require one religion class minimum as part of our core curriculum or kind of our general education requirement at TCU. That class, because we represent so many faith backgrounds on our campus, that class can be any of our religion classes offered. So some students will take world religion, some students will take one of our Jewish studies classes. One student that helped me with the program this summer, I asked him what his religion class was that he took as part of the core curriculum, and he told me it was called Sports and Religion. And it was about the role of religion in professional sports throughout the history of time. So a lot of choices. And again, I just wanted to let you know our denominational affiliation. All right, on with the show. TCU is a medium-sized private university. The number that you see on the screen, 9,477, is an old number. I'm happy to report that as of just a few days ago, our official numbers are in for fall semester, and we're actually at 9,704 undergraduate students. We do have about 1,200 graduate students at TCU, but mostly the majority of our students are, that 18 through 22 age range working on their bachelor's degree at TCU. We do have a number of master's programs and some PhD programs, and TCU, we're in our second year of our new medical school. So we love that medium size, but we also have kind of a small school feeling. If you look at our student to faculty ratio, for every 13 full-time students, we have one full-time professor. And if you include people like me, an admission counselor, or the women's basketball coach, or maybe somebody who works in our main cafeteria. When you look at faculty, staff, and administrators at TCU, for every 4.5 students, there's a person like me or a faculty member who's there to help students. And that's what's really important. Students love TCU, and actually I'm happy to report that our retention rate, freshman to sophomore year, just increased as well, because our new data is rolling in now that we've hit, kind of that third week of classes at TCU. We're actually at a 92% retention rate from freshman to sophomore year, which puts us in a really great standing when you look at all of the other colleges and universities in the US. We have students from over 87 different countries, all 50 states, because I can assure you that because I work with 7 of those states, 2 US territories, and I'm really happy to report that Illinois brings us our third largest group of domestic students. We have the most students from Texas because we're located in Texas. So about 49% of our students are from Texas for undergraduates. And then it's California. California is a very large, very populated state. But look at number 3, Illinois. We're bringing it home and making TCU just sparkle and shine with a lot of Illinois students. So you'll love it when you're on our campus to visit. And if you join us as a student, you'll feel right at home. Our average class size is 27 students in a class. All right, we're located in Fort Worth, Texas, and Fort Worth is an incredible city. I didn't really know a whole lot about Fort Worth until I interviewed for my job. I knew it was by Dallas, but I didn't know a lot, and I was really pleasantly surprised to find out how large of a city it is. In the recent population of cities data that we see, Fort Worth actually ranks number 13. It's the 13th largest city in the US. And that really helps our students because it means there's internship opportunities. It means that we have 5 hospitals in Fort Worth for our nursing students and our pre-med students. And all of those students who need a clinical experience to have that clinical experience. We have a very vibrant business district as well. So we love Fort Worth. Fort Worth is a great home for TCU, and TCU is a great neighbor for Fort Worth. All right. Another thing that brings our students kind of that big school feeling, not just being in that big city, but also we're part of the Division I athletics with the Big 12 conference. And if you look at the little grid that I have up there at the top, you can see TCU in the purple, we're the smallest school in the Big 12. And the largest school, of course, is that burnt orange school that's up, you know, toward the top right of your screen. So that's why we make a lot of news with athletics, because we are truly the David versus Goliath on the field. We're so small compared to those other Big 12 rivals, but we really put it out there on the field. A cool thing about us being the smallest school in the Big 12, our students, all of our students, they're able to get into every home athletic event for free. There's no raffle system, there's no lottery system. Seriously, they just walk over, show their student ID, and they get into the women's basketball game or to the tennis matches or to the football games. This year, because of the pandemic, our students are needing to register for football tickets about a week in advance, but I'm happy to report of the 3,000 students who wanted a ticket for the home opener, we lost the game to Iowa State, but all 3,000, we were able to get them into the stadium despite our limit of 25% for season ticket holders and students. So we just love that about TCU. Students also get in free to all of the home fine arts events at TCU as well. In addition to the Big 12 and being in the city of Fort Worth, we kind of feel like a big school because we offer a lot of research opportunities for our undergraduate students. And again, with Fort Worth, so many internships. And last but not least, kind of that big school feeling, TCU really has one of the 50 top endowments in the United States. And that's great because we've really had to draw upon it a little bit in the last few months to make sure that our students are being taken care of and we make things as affordable as possible for students and their families. Next up, I want to talk a little bit about academics. We have over 115 different majors at the university. That's quite a few for a school our size. Before I talk about the specific colleges, I do want to let you know that regardless of what major you choose to study at TCU, you do need to take classes that are part of our core curriculum. During your 4 years at TCU, about 1/3 of the total classes that you'll take during that time, there'll be classes that check off the boxes for the core curriculum requirements. As you can see on the screen, we have 3 topical areas: essential competencies and curriculum, human experiences and endeavors, and then of course, heritage, mission, vision, and values curriculum. So within each of those themes, students are told how many credit hours they need to have and what specific departments those credit hours need to be earned within. So remember earlier when I talked about our affiliation with the Disciples of Christ denomination, we do require that one religion class. That religion class that's required, whichever class a student chooses to fulfill that, that's part of the core curriculum. So our largest class at TCU is a music appreciation class. That is one of the classes that fulfills, you know, one of these topical areas for the core curriculum. That class, that's the largest class, it has 150 students. There's a wait list to get into it. It's really popular. And my coworkers who've taken the class have told me that the professor knows all 150 names by the end of the second week. So I'm thinking we're pretty lucky at TCU if our largest class is a class that students really want to get into, where the professor's dynamic and knows all of their names, and it's a fun topic like Bach, the composer to rock, and it's all audio and visual. That's a great class to have as your largest class. So 1/3 of your classes would be in the core curriculum. Another 1/3 of your classes would be classes earned toward your major. And the final 1/3 would be classes that are, you know, fun things that you want to take as electives, or classes that would meet the criteria toward your minor, or maybe a double minor. At TCU, our academic advisors are always looking out for students. So we do allow students to kind of double dip and triple dip with this core curriculum. So for example, if you're taking a class that checks off a box for the core curriculum and you want to major in business, and it also meets one of those criteria, and you want to minor in, let's say, psychology, and that same class is a class that you can take toward a minor in psychology, you've now checked 3 boxes. So So because of that, our students are able to often major and double minor or triple minor. In some instances, students can double major and still graduate in 4 years. So if that's something that's of interest to you, talk to me about it afterward and we can talk and look a little bit more at that. We have 8 colleges within the university umbrella. Our largest college is the Neely School of Business. It's a top 30 undergraduate business school. We do have an MBA program as well, and all of our MBA full-time faculty are required to teach at least 1 undergraduate class. We have 8 majors within the Neely School of Business, and each of those majors can have a minor in global business added to the major. Next up would be our second largest college, and that's in terms of how many students are majoring, you know, from within that college, and that would be our College of Liberal Arts and Sciences. There are several majors in there. I need to probably count them up, but I think there are about over 35 different majors. So that's why we have a lot of students majoring in those majors in that college. Next up is our College of Science and Engineering. We have a lot of students who are looking at pre-med and other careers that come out of this college. The Harris College of Nursing and Health Sciences is where students will find our nursing major, but also speech language pathology and rehabilitation of the deaf community. So great colleges. And if we look at the next 4, we've got the Bob Schieffer College of Communication, named after our TCU alum, Bob Schieffer, and our College of Education. Certainly all of those majors from early childhood education to middle school and secondary. And we did just add a new major a year ago called Youth Advocacy, which is for people who want a career where they're working with youth, but they're not in a traditional classroom as a teacher teaching a class. They might be working with an organization or a museum or, a startup non-for-profit. We have our College of Fine Arts, of course. For anybody who's out there tonight who's thinking about fine arts, we are an all Steinway piano school. There are only about 80 of us in the United States, but if you play piano, you'll know what an all Steinway piano school means. And then last but not least, we have our School of Interdisciplinary Studies. And within that college, there's actually a major called Interdisciplinary Studies. We don't allow a student to apply for this major directly from high school, but if you're at TCU as a freshman and you're kind of uncertain about which way to go and you'd like to create your own major, you can actually have that interdisciplinary studies major and create your own major. All right, I said that we have 8 colleges. We actually have a 9th if you count the Honors College. The way that the Honors College works is that once a student has applied for admission and everything's complete, the student will get an email that asks if they're interested in applying to the Honors College. If the student indicates yes, they'll be directed to kind of a unique, individualized website, and they'll get the instructions. They'll need to fill out a very short form, but they'll also need to write 2 different honors essays. And these honors essays will be actually reviewed by Honors College faculty. It'll be a blind review, so those faculty members will not know if the student is male or female. They won't know if they're from, the Chicago suburbs or Maryland, so they're really just reviewing that based upon the strength of a student's writing skills. Students typically find out if they've been admitted or invited into the Honors College about the 3rd week in January. If a student applies to be in the Honors College and they're not selected, they're able to talk to their admission counselor and see if there's an opportunity to be waitlisted into the Honors College. And if that doesn't work and a student ends up at TCU, after they've taken their first 12 credit hours at TCU and they have at least a 3.5 GPA, they can just walk on over to Scarborough Hall, go into the Honors College office and ask to become part of the program at that time. All right, I just want to check my time a little bit here, you guys. I want to make sure that I'm on schedule and everything. We look like we're in good shape. So let's move forward with some admission information. And again, if you have any questions, please go ahead to the Q&A section and type them in. And during the Q&A at the end of the session, I'll actually be answering those questions live. So, all right, let's take a look at our application timeline. TCU has 2 different application deadlines. You know, the first one's coming up sooner than we realize with November 1st. 2 different methods with which a student can apply. A student can be considered for early action, which is non-binding. Those students, if they're admitted, they have all the way up until midnight, May 1st, to let TCU know if they'd like to be a student at TCU. We also offer for November 1st early decision. With early decision, that is a binding contract that's involved. And so students are already deciding right when they apply that they're coming to TCU if they're admitted by the admission committee. So November 1st, 2 different options. Most students in Illinois will apply for that first deadline, early action, non-binding. Just to kind of give you a little bit of reference, as I've said before, I work with students in 7 different states. And last year with all 7 of those states, you know, when I look at that total for all 7 states, about 33 of those students for my whole territory applied for early decision. So it's not a lot of students, but if you're a student who's thinking about applying early decision to TCU, please make sure that you write down my email address. Let's get into a dialogue about your interests, and I want to make sure that I can help answer those questions. All right, our second and final deadline would be February 1st. We call that one regular decision. So please keep in mind that if the first deadline is November 1st, it means that an application that comes in November 2nd, anywhere up until midnight, you know, February 1st, all of those applications would go into that second deadline. And as I said, most students from Illinois will apply early action for that first deadline because the notifications, TCU does not do a rolling admission or a rolling notification. We post our admission decisions just a couple of times per year. Students who apply for the November 1st deadline will get a decision in the middle of December. Not before that, not after that. Everybody for early action will get their decision posted into their TCU account on the same day. Students who apply for the regular decision deadline, remember that's anything between November 2nd and February 1st, those students do not get a decision until the last week of March. So that is why a lot of students, or most students actually from Illinois, will apply for that November 1st deadline. They're eager to kind of find out, you know, what the admission decision is. And again, regardless of which deadline, as long as you're not applying early decision, which is binding with that contract, you have all the way until midnight, May 1st, to let us know if you'd like to be a horned frog. All right, students are often asking me, what is the admission committee looking at? We are a very holistic review process committee at TCU. I am the admission counselor, so I read every single application that is submitted for students in my 7 states. So everybody from Illinois, I'm your admission counselor. If you're somebody from Wisconsin who crashed into the Illinois IACAC presentations tonight, welcome, and I'll also be your admission counselor. The admission committee is taking a look at several things, and as you can see from this chart, the bulk of what they're really relying on and taking into consideration are those factors that are academic in nature. So they're looking at your GPA, they're looking at the weight or the academic rigor of the classes that you've taken. They're taking a look at grade trends. Has a student been getting stronger grades every year? Have they been taking more challenging classes? Has a student started, you know, off high school with straight A's and then fall semester of junior year, 2 D's, 4 C minuses? You know, the admission committee is going to say, Jill, you know, you're the admission counselor, what's going on in this situation? So I do review your application, and I really search, you know, very deep into the application to make sure that I'm being a really strong advocate for you as an applicant. Previously, we did require the ACT or SAT to be considered for admission at TCU. However, for this recruitment cycle, so for fall 2021 recruitment, we have gone test optional. So students may choose to submit a test score, they may choose not to. Some students, all of their test dates were canceled, so they don't have any scores to submit. So for this year, test optional. If you're a junior or a sophomore joining us tonight, I'm on a committee that's exploring kind of what we might be doing at TCU, but I don't know the answers yet. So for right now, it's just for fall 2021. The admission committee is also looking at several other things, as you can see on the chart. Co-curriculars, that's your list of activities. Most of the applications, and we accept 4. We accept the TCU application, the common application. Because we're located in the state of Texas, we're part of the Apply Texas application. And then new this year, we are accepting the coalition application. Most students in Illinois fill out the common application for TCU, and then the second one would be the TCU application. So regardless of the application, there's typically 10 lines for a student to list their activities. Many students like to upload or send a bit later after they hit submit a list of other activities or volunteer experiences or leadership experiences. So we want to take a look at all of that. So let us have it. Send it to us so that we can really take that into consideration. Also, students need to, of course, write an essay. We only require the essay that is on the application that you're choosing. So if a student is applying through the common application, you just need to follow one of those prompts and write the application. We do have a TCU supplement that's part of the common application, and those questions that we're asking, they're not essay questions. They're very short answer questions. I think one of the questions is, how would you describe your personal character? And I think another question is, why is TCU a good fit for you as a college? So again, we don't need essays to answer those 2 questions. We want like 4 sentences, maybe a paragraph. And so just remember, the essay will be whichever essay is asked on the application that you choose to apply through. We're also looking for at least 1 teacher recommendation. We only need 1. You may send us 2 if you'd like. And then the counselor recommendation, which is really a form that the school counselor signs off on. Again, test optional. But I did kind of want to show you some historical data based upon students who applied to TCU last year and who were admitted. I don't know what's going to happen this year, but some of the high school visits that I've had in early September, students were requesting this information. So I added it to tonight's presentation, thinking it might be helpful for some students who are maybe thinking, do I want to send my scores? Do I not want to send my scores? So again, the data that you see here with these middle 50% ranges, these are scores for students who applied and were admitted to TCU. We super scored the ACT at TCU. So this 26 to 31, not average, but that middle 50%, that's a super score 26 to 31. 25% of our students who applied and submitted ACT data last year had over, they had a 32 or over. 25% who were admitted had a 25 super score or lower. And if you're more into the SAT, that data is directly below. The middle 50%, or that broader average for students admitted to TCU last year, was an 1150 to a 1340. I really have no idea what it's going to be right now. Usually after our first deadline, we can kind of take a look and see what's kind of trickling in, and definitely when the admission committee makes decisions, we can look at it then. So I do know that in our staff meeting on Monday, they indicated that of the applications that have come in for fall 2021, so far, exactly 50% of the students have submitted ACT or SAT data, and the other 50% have not submitted anything. So it's purely your choice. The average GPA, and this is on an unweighted 4-point scale, last year for admitted students was a 3.56. Like I said, I've worked at TCU for 15 years, so I can assure you there are students admitted above a 3.56 unweighted GPA on a 4-point scale and under. So remember, it's just a number, it's not the cutoff. All right, if anybody out there is thinking about transferring, I know with the situation going on right now, some students are thinking about maybe staying home, a little closer to home. That's okay. TCU will be there when you're ready for us. But if you have at least 12 credit hours, and this is not dual credit, this is 12 credit hours after your high school graduation, and at least a 2.7 GPA at that within that first semester that you take after high school, you should qualify, for admission and possibly even some scholarship money. I think that's toward a 3.0 as a transfer student, though, a little more. All right, let's see what's up next. Oh, we need to talk about the money. Please know that about 75, actually a little more, actually this past year, it was about 85% of our students received some type of funding to help with their TCU costs. So our current year, because I don't know what tuition will be for next year until the Board of Trustees makes that decision. They usually make it during their November meeting. But for our current year, tuition and fees, 51,660. Residence halls, you can kind of see these numbers that you see are really standard double occupancy room, kind of middle of the road option for the meal plan. And then we include $900 so that you can factor that in with a grand total for this year of $66,600. Students are, of course, able to try and get academic scholarships. There are no additional application forms that need to be submitted. Just apply, and after the admission committee determines who's been admitted, the scholarship committee will take a look at the admitted students' information, and usually about 2 weeks after you find out if you've been admitted or not with the admission committee's decision, about 2 weeks later, you get the academic scholarship information. The last several years, we've awarded academic merit scholarship to about 55% of our admitted students. This year, we actually were able to give out some grant money. So not the merit money, but some extra money, purely because of our pandemic and wanting to help families. I don't know where our scholarships will kind of cut off this year because we're test optional. Last year, our scholarships ranged from $10,000 per year up to full tuition. Please know with those full tuition scholarships, 50 students received a full tuition scholarship out of over 20,000 applicants. So when you see full tuition, no, it's a very specialized group of students that are kind of in that range, and only 50 end up getting that scholarship. I hope to have more scholarship information coming up later. Again, it's our first year with not requiring SAT or SAT. So I know the scholarship committee has a couple of different models that they'll be using to determine if a student is in academic merit scholarship range. All right, especially this year, more than any other year, we do encourage families to file for financial aid. We do require two. We require the FAFSA, which every college requires, and then also we require the CSS profile. The CSS profile is a financial need form that goes through the College Board. So make sure that you use both forms. If you don't, then you won't have filled out enough information. We use the FAFSA results for that federal free application for federal student aid. We use those results to determine if a student is eligible for federal financial aid funding. TCU uses the results of the CSS profile to determine if they are eligible for need-based money through TCU's budget and through donations through our alumni that they've given for students who have financial need. The TASFA is a form that students living in the state of Texas who do not qualify for the FAFSA, they can fill out. So for Illinois students, I don't think anybody will be filling out the TASFA, but if you have questions, let me know. The applications for FAFSA and CSS profile have already opened up, and we do encourage you to fill out the FAFSA and the CSS profile before February 1st. And if you can't do it by February 1st, try to aim for, the middle of February. And if you need until March 1st, that's okay. Just make sure that you follow through and take care of it. All right, career services. We've talked about how much TCU costs. So if there are any parents watching tonight, I know that you want to know that TCU is really helping your student find that job, you know, so that they can start paying back a student loan or making some money. You know, that's part of the TCU experience, wanting to prepare students for that next step in their life. The Princeton Review has rated TCU's career services staff and office as number 8 in the country this year. 4 out of 5 of our students actually have a job or go on to graduate school, law school, medical school, you know, whatever, within 3 months of graduation. Some colleges will report what their placement rates are within 6 months of graduation, but at TCU, we really want to track that, you know, immediately after graduation, and we give it a 3-month window of time. As I said, we're in a really large city, so there are plenty of places for internships or businesses that might want to hire our students after graduation. But if you look at the number in the middle, and this is for last academic year, over 1,500 interviews were conducted on our campus. That's not including interviews where students drove to you know, different businesses and did their interview on site, you know, at that business. So we're really active, and that's probably part of the reason that TCU is rated so high with the Princeton Review with career services. All right, at this point in time, I want to open it up for Q&A. If you have any questions, hopefully you type them into the Q&A during the session. And I'm going to take a look. I don't know if I can scroll up. Whoops. Let me see. I'm going to stop my share here and look at the Q&A. We don't have any questions. So I think what I'm going to do is maybe go back and talk about some questions that I get quite a bit when I'm doing my high school sessions. Students are asking me, is TCU doing any campus visits? Yes, we are, but we've really limited the number of people on our campus visits right now. Also, for fall semester, we're limiting it to high school seniors. Juniors are not able to visit yet. We really feel that students who are seniors this year have really had their college search process really impacted by the pandemic, and we need to make sure that those spots for students looking this semester are held open for seniors out of respect. If you're a junior and you want to come to a campus visit, you can come to campus, wear a face mask. You can come into the admission office Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, get one of our self-guided tour maps. And as long as you've got your face mask on, you can take that map and walk around campus during normal business hours, and it's okay with us. You can even park in the admission parking lot if you'd like. I'm hoping that we'll have some visit options open up for high school juniors, you know, for spring semester, but you can stay tuned. If you're not on the TCU mailing list already, you can just email me. And again, I already took my slideshow down, but I'm Jill. My last name is Countryman. So it's just j.countryman@tcu.edu. And if you're not on the mailing list, you can email me and I'll send you the link for that. Anybody who signed up for tonight's session, I will be getting your information within the next week. And so I'll make sure that you get put onto the mailing list when I get that information. Let me see. Oh, somebody typed a question. Fantastic. Let's see. Can I tell you a little bit about campus housing? I love to talk about campus housing because TCU's residence halls have been rated number 4 in the country by the Princeton Review. It's amazing. I'm a broken record. I've been at TCU for 15 years, and I can assure you our oldest residence hall at TCU, like the absolute oldest one, was built in 2006. So that's part of the reason that we're rated so high with the Princeton Review. We have so many options. We do require students to live on campus their first and second year. And that would mean the first and second year after they graduate from high school and come to TCU. But it's okay. Our our residence halls are fabulous. Most students will live in a residence hall their first year, and then for their second year at TCU, and again, I'm just checking my time here, the second year, some will live in a residence hall, some will live in a sorority housing unit or a fraternity housing unit, or they'll live in an on-campus apartment. We have a lot of options. And truth be known, we have a lot of juniors and seniors who also live in the residence halls. Students love living on campus. It's like a 12-minute walk from one corner to the next. Seriously, if you are a student in Moncrief, you can look across the street and see the football stadium. It's a very, it's a great campus because it's so walkable. And so we love having our students on campus. Let me check and see if there are any other questions coming in. And again, just checking my time here. All right, so let's see, what other questions do I get? Students ask me, and parents don't hate me, students ask this question. Students often want to know, may I bring a car to campus? And my response, I'm a mom, my response is, that's a discussion for you to have with your parents. But yes, we do allow students as first year or freshman students, we use those terms interchangeably, freshman and first year, they may have a car on campus. But just like your high school, you'll need to register the vehicle, there'll be a parking fee. Several students have told me that the TCU parking fee is much less than their high school's parking fee, but we do allow cars on campus. If it's a game day, you might have to move it if your car is parked in one of our tailgate parking lots for our visitors and alumni, but you may bring it. Okay, somebody's asking, so Greek housing is on campus. Yes, TCU has, I don't know if it's unique, but it's unique for me compared to other colleges that I've worked at. All of the Greek life housing units at TCU house either 2 or 3 sororities or 2 or 3 fraternities. That housing is maybe 2 years old now, so very new. And we have a really collaborative Greek system at TCU. So they're very large housing units. And so it might be 2 fraternities in 1 housing unit. It's not like a house like, you know, in the suburbs. It's like a small residence hall, but really cool with pillars and cool fraternity things. And so it might be 1 fraternity where they occupy the bottom floor, another fraternity occupies the 2nd floor, and then there are shared meeting rooms, and they alternate which days or times they use the meeting room facilities. So they are on campus, and they're new, and it works out really well for our students. Is the airport near campus? I love these questions, you guys. In Dallas-Fort Worth, there are 2 airports. The largest is Dallas-Fort Worth, or DFW Airport. DFW is directly between Dallas and Fort Worth. And it's probably, I fly in, remember I live here in Illinois. It takes me usually, I fly into DFW. American has like flights pretty much on the hour out of O'Hare. So that's why I fly into DFW Airport. But I would say by the time I get to my rental car, keys in the ignition, pulling out, depending on what time of day it is, I'm typically always, you know, on campus within a half hour. I do allow more time though if it's, you know, rush hour or inclement weather, which doesn't happen a lot in Fort Worth, but it's about a 30-minute drive. There are shuttles that are available through Super Shuttle. Of course, there are Uber services and things like that. Typically in November, when the bulk of our students are going back home for their Thanksgiving break, our Student Government Association often leases or charters buses, and they have a pick up and drop schedule for that Thanksgiving week, because that's the time of year when most students are going home and coming back home. But the other airport is Love Field, and that's actually in the middle of Dallas. So it's farther from Fort Worth, but some families do have their students fly into Love Field because they're just able to get they use a particular airline, and they're able to get, you know, great discounts. I think Southwest flies into Love Field. That's a little farther away. They are working on things in the DFW area to make the commuter train have a connection to DFW Airport. There is a way to get to it, but it's a little choppy right now, but they're working on streamlining that so it's a little easier for students to use. Most of all, just ask another TCU student and they'll give you a ride. Seriously, we have so many Illinois students at TCU. They're happy to help, and they've told me, tell students we've got them covered for rides back home. Well, guys, I think I'm almost to the end of my time today. So I want to review with you that there are a lot of students from Illinois at TCU. TCU loves working with Illinois students. That's why for 15 years, they've let me live here and find new horned frogs to bring to campus. It's a great school. Students are happy at TCU. Their parents are happy. The other students are at TCU, and it's just, our students are smart, they're really creative, they're very genuine, and we would love for you to apply to TCU. So remember, if you have any questions, now that my time's almost up, my name is Jill and my email address is j.countryman@tcu.edu. Thanks, guys.
Thanks everyone for joining us tonight, and thanks Jill for your time. As a reminder to everyone that attended this evening, you will get a quick survey towards the end. If you enjoyed what Jill had to say and you're super interested in being a horned frog, email her, but also sign up for more sessions and learn about some other colleges that are out there. And then finally, know that this recording will be available should you need to go back and recap all of the great information that Jill shared with us this evening. So again, guys and gals, thanks for joining. Jill, thanks for hosting.
Yeah.
And go Horned Frogs.
Go Frogs. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much.